Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our live webinar today on how to maximize email automation for charities. My name is Nick Cook, and I am a Principal Solutions Consultant at Wood for Trees, part of the Salison Group, who for over 15 years have helped charities and not-for-profits maximize their impact. We focus on being strategy-led and data-fed, and we are also B Corp certified. We help organisations with unlocking their data assets, getting the most of the technology that they have invested in, building trust through a privacy-first approach, and creating connected supporter journeys. And I'm pleased to be joined today by James Alty, founder and MD at Aptico.
Yeah, good morning if you're in the UK, good afternoon if you're in Europe. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm James Alty and delighted to join with Wood for Trees to present this session on automating email for charities. If you don't know Aptico already, we're an independent software vendor based in Warwick in the United Kingdom, and we design, develop and support the Aptico marketing platform, and nowadays also the SaaS cloud support for deploying that platform, which can also be deployed on premise or in your own data center if you prefer. Our remit is handling big data, doing analytics on that big data, creating insight and audience segmentation that can then be activated through our campaign tools. And we serve major brands in not-for-profit, but also in B2C and B2B sectors. Most of those customers are supported through partner organisations like Wood for Trees, and we operate in 5 markets: the UK, Germany, Australia, the Netherlands and Canada. And in fact, we've just announced that we will be opening in New Zealand shortly. And through the reach of those businesses, we're able to provide 24-hour a day, 5-day-a-week global critical care if you contract for that level of care with us. I'm going to host the first session of this webinar. After the introduction, I will talk about the Aptico marketing platform dashboards and how they can be used for visual data selection to create audience cohorts, supporter groups, if you like, that can be used for further purposes, whether that's analysis or activation. We'll look at the lookalike mechanism in the Aptico marketing platform and how that can be used to automatically update scores on supporters to find lookalikes to target groups that you're interested in, perhaps high-value donors or committed givers or legacy givers or people who attend events, for example. You can use the lookalike mechanism to find other supporters similar to those and then use those for further activity. And one of those activities might be a multi-stage campaign using Aptico email, and that's the example that we're going to follow today, how a target group can be used and then scored for lookalikes and then automated to run through a campaign, and that campaign can iterate daily or weekly for activities, or in our example today, we're just going to run it once with your data. And you may remember that you signed up for the webinar. We asked permission to use your email address, so we will do a live email to you during today. And then we'll finish with a quick look at how Aptico marketing platform forms can be used to help you capture data. That could be double opt-in consent, for example, or it could be additional data for registration around an event. We'll finish with a chance for you to ask questions. If you want to put questions in during the session, use the Q&A tab in the Teams webinar. We'll look at that as we get to the close of the session, and we'll try to answer your questions live. Any that we can't answer live or which you don't fancy putting into the public forum, of course, we'll provide our contact details, and Nick and I will be pleased to help answer those questions afterwards. So dashboards, that's where we're starting. And you probably think of dashboards as something that you give to the senior management team and which they use to have an overview, whether it's the trustees or the board or your manager in your department. But actually, dashboards can be used for many purposes. Here's an example. It's on some fictitious data for a fictitious not-for-profit called a Petco. and a bit of a play on the name of Aptico. And you can see beautiful visualizations of all sorts, whether it's numeric, charts, pie charts, visual charts, Venn diagrams, we can do maps and so on. And you can see at the top, we've highlighted that tabs can be used to split your dashboard across several different pages or tabs showing that data. Now, actually, these dashboards are really easy to create. We deliver the ability for you to create multi-tabbed, multi-tile dashboards with lots of different visualizations. And once you've created a dashboard, you can share it. And given that sharing is part of what we support, you are encouraged to think about who you will be sharing it with, because someone in your board of trustees probably has different information and data needs than someone who is planning campaigns, that is different from someone who's looking at the CRM data quality, which is different from someone who is doing analysis across trends of donation patterns, for example. So we encourage different dashboards for different persons and for different personas, but all of them share the basic capability that as you start interacting and as your colleagues start interacting with the dashboard, what they do on one tile can apply to all or some of the other tiles. The reason I say some of is it's quite useful in some occasions to have a benchmark dashboard where you've got data, for example, that is fixed, and then data that you can filter, and you can make comparison between the two. And that might include, for example, comparing this year with last year. That's a very easy example, but there are many more ways that you could slice up your data. And all of it, as you can see with the color codes on the left-hand side, is completely brandable to your theme, your brand, and that builds trust. So people see that it's a resource from inside your organization. And just to emphasize, when you share a dashboard with a colleague, it is free of charge. They don't need an Aptico user license to interact with those tiles and to see the patterns in that data. They only need a user license if they want to create resources inside Aptico. Now, another aspect of dashboards is that each tile can support a drill through model. So you can drill from one layer of data to another. And that could be a simple hierarchy like the dates. So you could look at the years and then zoom in and drill into the quarters and drill into the months and drill into the weeks and maybe drill right down to the individual day to see the patterns. But it can also be a separate dimension. So you could drill from the source of a particular supporter, you know, what event caused them to sign up or donate, drilling down into something about their geolocation, or in this case on the screen, their campaign name. So it can be separate items, and you can add filters as well as by drilling and filtering on the tiles. You can add filters on other data items. So you can pick any data from all that's been loaded into Aptico and use that to filter the dashboard. And that filtering has a purpose, not only to explore the data, not only to build insight, not only to inform yourself and your team leaders about the patterns in the data, but it forms a purpose because it allows you to create a supporter cohort, what we call an audience. And that audience can be used for all sorts of purposes. So as you work across a dashboard, using the tiles and using the tabs and using the visualizations and finding your way into the patterns in the data, automatically we're tracking what you're doing so that you can then create an audience of those people. And that audience, as we will learn today, can be used for all sorts of purposes, including automated email supporter journeys. So let me hand over to Nick, and he's going to show you how to use a dashboard for visual supporter selection.
Thank you, James. So as James said, the first part of our demonstration is we're going to look and explore dashboards. But first of all, I just want to introduce you to the demonstration system that we will be using here today, which is based off a fictitious charity called Care for Trees. And we will use this for the entirety of the bits of demo that I will take you through today. Now, the first bit that I'm going to take you through is dashboards. And before we go into our scenario that we're going to talk through, I just want to cover off the point that James made about how we can brand up a dashboard. So what we've got here is a selections overview dashboard that could be shared with parts of the organization to maybe get an idea of counts that they might get for an upcoming campaign. So you can see we've got tiles on here that show our supporter distribution across the country, how many supporters we've got in the system, what value we've got, their giving volume and the value. So loads of really interesting figures that we can allow users to explore. So someone could come in here and say, well, actually, I'm after looking at people who are in my active regular giving segment. We can click on that, filter the dashboard, and then all of the tiles are updated with that information. And then maybe it's a email campaign that's going out. So we'll say, yeah, we need to be able to email them. So we can add that to the filter as well. Then you can see that has now filtered all of the tiles based on that. But first, leading on to now, we're going to take you through the demo scenario that we're going to kind of stage through the rest of this session, which is the fact that I've been targeted with getting an uplift on some events that we've got coming up. So I'm going to switch over to an event dashboard. So a slightly different view of the world within the system. Instead of looking at supporters and how all of their attributes, we're now looking at the bookings that supporters have made within the system. So we can see how many bookings have been made, what the event income is across those, and where do our eventers live within the country. And then right down to things like, are people taking charity places or own places, and then breaking down by the different types of events over the year. So you can see very nicely color coded and branded with your organization. You can see all that information. So I'm going to look at the event type, and I can see here quite clearly that, you know, mass participation and virtual runs and community is getting a lot of bookings made in them. So I want to maybe uplift one that we're not getting so many in. So for this particular example, I'm going to look at our cycling events. So I'm going to click on cycle, and I'm going to add that to the filter. And then we can see the dashboard update. So we can see we've got 25,000 bookings where the event type was a cycle. And these are the people that we want to essentially find people that look like this. So we need to give the tool in a minute a base to work with. So this is what we're going to do. Now, I could go off into the audiences section of the platform and write that, but demonstrate you here. So essentially, we don't need to leave here. We can come up into the corner. We can say create an audience from this filter, and this then becomes our cycle eventers. We can press create, and straight away that's given us that audience. We can click on it, and that will take us into here, and we can see that that rule has been created for us. Then obviously the next step within this journey, within this process, would be to create the lookalikes. But before I go into that, I'll pass back to James, and he'll tell you a little bit about lookalikes.
Thank you very much, Nick. So we are on our journey. We've started from a dashboard, we've created some insight, we've understood a little bit about the data and the patterns around our supporters. So what are we going to do next? Having identified those cycle event participants, perhaps we want to find more of them. We're looking to acquire more support for the cycle events. And a way that we can do that is by using the lookalike functionality in the Aptico marketing platform. Lookalikes is a mechanism that uses all of the data that's been loaded into your Aptico system and scores that data to predict or to identify which of the variables are predictive of the group that you offer up. So if we take the existing cycle event participants, we can offer that up and say, please, can we find lookalikes to this? So we'll look at the behavior, we'll look at the demographics, we'll look at the transaction detail, we'll look at the information that's been collated around that set of supporters, using a set of variables that our Aptico administrator creates for us. Now, that's somebody who knows about the data, knows which variables can be relied on, and can guide general business users into a safe space for creating this type of lookalike. So you can see on the screen, we've got 4 or 5 variables presented, and some of them have a blue bar next to them. That blue bar indicates the predictive power that has been found by the Aptico lookalike process. And you can see they're ranked. The longest blue bar is at the top, and then the second, and so on. And that's using a measure that Aptico created called incremental insight. It allows us to measure how much additional information we can get from the second and the third and the fourth most predictive variables after we've chosen the top one. So you can choose how far down that hierarchy you wish to come. Now, if you stay with fewer variables, you get a broader, simpler, more generally applicable model. If you choose more variables, you'll get a tighter, more closely fitted model to the data that you trained on. And there's benefits of both, but that needs a little bit of data awareness. Someone who's data savvy will understand sometimes it's better to release the rules a bit and go for a wider, simpler base. And having decided which variables you wish to use, and of course you can try different combinations yourself, you can then either create an audience from the lookalike process or just create the score so that you can then go and do further analysis. Let's just look at some of the detail, and particularly you can choose whether the scores will be updated. So whether you want to create a static score that's fixed on the data model that was created on the lookalike model that's created from the data as it stood today, or whether you want to keep updating that as data evolves, and that's a static or dynamic model. And that score is then used, the score from that model is used to rank recipients, typically for audience activation or supported recruitment type campaigns. And as I said, you can either create an audience specifically or just the variable, and then you can adjust the volume that you wish to create from that, and you can use it for any purpose. And today we're going to use it for campaign type activity. And so we're going to take an audience that we create live in front of you with a lookalike process on that full data set that Nick has got loaded, and we're going to create that as a target group. His example is around a cycle event. My example on the screen is around pet adoption. But you can see that we're going to take a target group, add it into an audience at the start of a campaign, and then we'll start exploring what that campaign, that audience activation campaign can do. But you can see on screen that we have things like limits, we can do exclusions, we can view the detail of the audience, how was it picked. You can put a hierarchy in so that if a single supporter is picked through membership of two different audience groups, you can choose which of the hierarchy is accredited with that particular supporter. And that will impact how you report on the success of that campaign and the audience groups that you are using. So let me hand it over once again back to Nick, who will show us how to use lookalikes for acquisition marketing activity.
Thank you again, James. So yeah, this is where we left off. We've got our base group of cycle eventers that we're going to pass in to our lookalike functionality, which is what we're going to do now. So from on here, within our audience, I can add a new solution, and you can see on the page we've got various different options, from checking your results, browsing your data, or maybe even exporting the data. However, for this example, we're going to find some lookalikes. So I'm going to add that in. So we will call this our cycle eventers lookalike. And then, as James said, we've got some variables configured by the administrator of this system. So we could at this point choose which one of these we want to use. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to use all of these, and I'm going to press run. And then that will go off, and as James said, that will run that incremental insight process behind the scenes to calculate and look at those characteristics. And before I can even finish talking about it, it's come back to me with the results telling me which ones are the best. Now, for this purpose, I'm going to use all of them. So I'll tick all of them, and I'm going to say find some lookalikes. So I need to save the changes there. And then, as James said, we could use this as an analysis group to do further analysis on. But for this purpose, we need an audience that we need so we can pass into a campaign. So let's create that. So this is going to be my cycle event base. And then we can ask it for a size. Now, I'm going to put in 1,000 for now. But as you'll see in a minute, we can change that at a later date should you want to ask for more, or maybe even reduce it down. So we'll press create. So now, using all of that incremental insight process and looking at the data within the system to try and identify supporters that look alike those cycle eventers. And again, before I could even finish speaking, that audience has now been created for me. I can press view the audience, so you can see everybody in our inclusion, it gets everybody. And then in the exclusion, we're basically excluding people who've already taken part in a cycle event. because maybe we're not going to target those. And we're also excluding people that haven't been given a score from the incremental insight, therefore not deemed as somebody who is likely to take part in a cycle event. And then at the top, you can see here where it said limited. This is this piece where we've asked for 1,000 records ordered by the cycle event score. So this is where you could change this at a later date if you wanted to. Now, the next stage of this is to then pass this on into a campaign. So I could come out and go into the campaigning area and start to configure everything as I want. But what I can do is I can save this, and straight from within the audience section, I can say, yeah, I want a campaign from this. And this is going to be my cycle event promotion. I'm going to press create, and the system takes me straight into our campaigning area, where it's already put in the initial step of our journey, which is our cycle event promotion. Now we can see we've got in here 1,000 people. I'm going to come here and edit it. So as you can see, we've got our inclusion of that cycle event base, and you've got the exclude section where you might put in exclusions of people that you can't contact because you haven't got permission, or some other sort of general exclusions around deceased, gone away, that type of thing. For the purpose of this, I'm going to add an exclusion of people that don't have a webinar registration email against it. So it's only going to look at the people that we've got here today. Now, obviously, if you're signed up for the webinar and you're not live on screen, live in the webinar today, obviously you will still receive your email, obviously as part of this webinar. So hopefully you can look back at that if you're watching it post. So we can see here we've got now 74 people. So there's 70 people online that registered, and we've got some people outside in the group as well. So I'm going to apply that, and we can see here, so we've got our 74 records. Now, obviously the next stage within this is going to be to give them some form of communication. So in this terms, we want to send them an email via Aptico email. But before I put that in, I'll pass back to James, who will tell you a little bit more about journeys and Aptico email.
Thank you very much, Nick. So we're on a roll. We've identified a target group. We've used that to create some lookalikes, and that process will automatically update because we allowed it to keep the scores refreshed. And we're now starting on laying out a supported journey. And a supported journey can be drawn on screen in the diagram that controls the campaign journey that we're creating in the software. And you can think of how will a supporter experience what we are communicating. You can see in this example on the screen that we have an email message at the top in orange, and then a 1 week delay. So we're going to wait a week to see what happens, and then we will, as it's titled on there, resend to the non-open. So the people where we've got no proof that they opened that email, then we can resend the message. And you can see that the campaign flow starts in a single thread, if you like, down the middle of the screen, and starts to spread as we put in different branches and different stages of the customer journey, the supporter journey. It can be simple, can just be one message and stop, that's fine. But if you wish to, the campaign journey builder in the Aptico marketing platform allows you to build multi-stage, multi-channel, multi-branch campaigns. And those campaigns can include multiple different channels. You can see in the center of the screen the mix of channels. And today we're focusing on email, but it could just as readily be push notifications to an app, or if, for example, you've got a gift aid registration with a supporter ID, give the supporter a card to put in their digital wallet. You can send a notification to the card in their wallet, or you could drive a digital print operation and create beautiful direct mail pieces, or the contact center, or send messages through WhatsApp for Business, and so on. Or place ads on social platforms. If you want to acquire people for this cycle event, we could be posting ads into a target group, created as a custom audience in the Aptico marketing platform, uploaded to Meta or to Google, and then used either directly or perhaps with their lookalike functions to go and find other people where you can serve that paid ad for further recruitment. So a really broad range of audience activation options, but today we're going to look at email. And when we send an email, we're able to listen to and react to the interactions on that email. So if someone clicks a link, that link is traced and will tell us that a link has been clicked. If someone opens an email and downloads graphics, then we will be able to see that they've opened the email. And likewise on other channels, we'll have other types of outcomes. And indeed for email, there are other outcomes like bounce or unsubscribe type outcomes that we can track and act on as well. All of which is done with timing around the supporter journey. So ensuring that we are reacting in an appropriate time to the interactions that the supporters make with the messaging that we are providing to them. Now, as you imagine, you could end up with quite a big diagram of the supporter journey and the campaign workflow journey that powers it. And to tackle that and to make the system super easy to use, easy to think about your customer journey, easy to design it and easy to implement it, we've created what we believe is a unique capability in the Aptico marketing platform campaigns area, and these are called campaign sections. Now, in designing the campaign workflow, we looked at lots of other marketing technology tools to see how workflows were presented. It's quite a common thing from your ESP through to your biggest vendors. Lots of suppliers have workflow tools. We've concentrated on making ours particularly beautiful, particularly easy to interpret. And one aspect of that is the ability to divide up the journey into sections. We call those campaign sections. You can see 3 of them on the screenshot on the left hand side. And incidentally, these are all real screenshots. They're not drawn by us. That's what the software looks like. Hands-on. Nick's going to show you it in a minute. The sections allow you to define a little part of the supporter journey. That little part of the supporter journey can then be used from anywhere in the campaign. So if we are doing an initial message and a follow-up message and then a WhatsApp message to try to get people to sign up to participate in their cycle event, whichever point they sign up, we send them to the sign up section of the campaign and they get the standard treatment, they get the proper email, they get the proper registration form, and off they go, able to participate in the event. But we only have to draw that sign up communication in one place in the whole campaign, and we can then refer to it from wherever we wish. So we believe that's a unique benefit of the Aptico marketing platform, a real differentiator of how you can draw your supporter journeys. Now, actually, the campaign we're going to use today is not big enough to warrant sections, so we're not going to try and demonstrate it, but hopefully you can see the idea on screen, a nice tidy section, the middle one there called last chance split for non-opens, and you can see what happens when you click on that. It pops up into a little bit of the diagram. Today, we're looking at email, and built into the Aptico marketing platform, as Nick is going to show you today, we have a fantastic email engine, an engine that can support multiple templates with all of your proper organizational branding and headers and footers and coloring and imagery. We've got a fantastic image gallery that you can upload your digital assets into, and then use that gallery with functionality for resizing and repurposing some of that imagery. We can hold templates for marketing or promotional purposes, as well as templates for transactional purposes. Sometimes you want the engine just to communicate with people, and if someone has perhaps made 3 regular giving commitments, you might need to communicate with them 3 separate times on the same day in the same campaign, and we can do that even though it's going to the same email address. I mean, you might incidentally choose to collate those around a supporter, and that's a perfectly sensible decision. But where necessary, we can do transactional as well as promotional activity. And the whole template structure is easy to use with drag and drop blocks. So you can have an image block, a header block, a text block, and each of those blocks, every one of those blocks can be made conditional and can be personalized. So what does it mean to be conditional? Well, you might decide the people in our top category get a different image and a different piece of text than the people in our medium category or our lower category. You can also do personalization. Any of the data you hold around your supporter can be used in the template to personalize that message. So for personalization, customization, and testing of all of your interactions through the email, the templates give you the tools to do that. So in fact, yeah, before I hand over to Nick, let's just describe here how 3 different supporters down the left-hand side could see 3 quite different content blocks in the middle of an email. You can see imaging and text has been changed for each of those. So depending on the segment, or a random allocation, you can do tests of your content simply by choosing percentage splits rather than audience segment split. So a segment split is, if you're a member of this audience, you get this treatment. If you're a member of that audience, you get the other treatment. A percentage split would just be 50-50 or any further way that you wish to do it. And those can be combined with personalization. So always mentioning the name, always mentioning the event, always mentioning the date, the value, the ask, whatever it is that you are including in the personalization content. So you can see it's easy to do. And these are real template sections that we've picked in the screenshot. So let me now hand over to Nick, and he's going to show you how to build a multi-stage supporter journey using Aptico email.
Thank you, James. So this is where we were left off before I handed you over to James to tell you a little bit more about journeys and Aptico email. Now, before I add in this email, because obviously I as a user of the system for a long time, I know that I need to put an email in here, but I just want to focus your attention down in the bottom left corner. There's a journey to do, so it's a little bit like a shopping list of things that you need to do. So we can see here that it tells me the next thing I've got to do, I need to add a channel because there's no point having selecting somebody and not doing anything with them. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add in an email channel. And this is going to be my cycle event email. So we'll pop that in and it'll pop out the window on the right hand side asking me what I want to do. So first of all, I need to select the channel. So for this purpose of this demo, I'm going to select Aptico email. It will then tell me how many credits I've got remaining in my account and how many are required for the activity that I'm about to do based upon the send up here, which was our 74 records. And then the next thing is to select a template. So it will load all the templates I've got available to me. So I'm going to select the cycle event promotion final. Now, the email has been pre-built to save us time, but I'm going to jump into it from within the journey builder. So I don't need to move to a different part of the system. You can access the email builder from various parts. So we're going to access it from within the journey builder. So I'm going to do edit template, which will call out to the Aptico email builder, and it will pre-populate the interface with the email that I've asked it to edit. And my connection is obviously being a bit slow this morning. So obviously I'm no digital creator, so I'm sure many of you on the call today can probably do a much better job than I've done here, but I've mocked up together an email for a cycle event. So the first thing that I've done within the subject line, I put an icon of a bike and then said, why not go for a cycle, and popped in the first name of our supporter. And then you'll see in the email there's various sections. So the first thing I want to draw your attention to is this first section in here. So you see there's 3 blocks here that look very similar. Now, these are all conditionally formatted. So based on the data we upload and who the supporter is, they'll get one of these blocks. So if I click on this one, we can see, so if the giver type is a regular giver, we're going to say, first of all, we'd like to thank you for being a regular donor since, and also populating the year that they first donated. The second section, if the person is a cash giver, we're going to thank them for having donated in the past, and then a catch-all for just saying thank you for their support in some way. And then scrolling down through the email, everybody's going to get this middle section. So giving them an image put in here that we've uploaded into the image gallery within Aptico email and resized and got it working. Noting down some upcoming cycle events that the charity has got coming up. And then down the bottom, we've got two extra sections. Again, a bit like the top, show there are two different ones. So I've been told that if I'm sending this to somebody who has previously taken part in an event for the charity, we're happy to give them a 10% off their registration fee. Whereas if it's somebody who supported the charity but not maybe with an event, we're going to offer them a 50% discount off their registration fee. So those will all be kind of dynamically populated as the emails get sent. And then we've got some contact information down the bottom. So that's the email being built up. So I'm going to close that interface. Now, as you'll have seen in the interface within the email builder, we populated the first name in several places. That is already automatically mapped within the channel editor within the system. So it will automatically pull that through from the record. But the bits it doesn't know about is those extra bits we put in. So the giver type, the year that they were first donated if they're a regular giver, and whether they're an eventer. I can ask the system to add all of those in for me, to give me placeholders to populate those values. So I can come here and say, yeah, I've got variables in my system for this. So my first RG year, it can come into my system and I've got a first RG year. I've also got giver type. So we'll say, yeah, I've got a variable for giver type. So we will populate that with our type of giver. And then I've also got an eventer flag, which basically is a true false, just to say, is a supporter an eventer or not? And we'll add those in and we'll apply that. So that's in. And now you can see on the to-do list, that's now dropped out. We don't need to add an email step. So as James said, obviously with the constraints that we've got with time and everything, we can't build a massive journey here, but I'm just going to show you how we could start to build out those splits and different paths for different things. So the first thing we might do is add a time delay. So let's say we might wait for one day and see what interactions we've got. So we can say, yeah, I will wait for one day. And then once we've waited, we want to look at the interactions. So we could say check for clicks and maybe clicks and opens maybe. So by default, you get everyone so that everybody falls out. So you have to add paths for the different ones that you want to populate. So we'll add in, first of all, we'll do a clicks. So, and obviously if you've clicked it, then therefore you must have opened it. So we'll make that clicked. Now you could place a specific link that you wanted to be tracking in there. But now we'll open, we'll do a path for our opens. And we'll make those opened. And then we've got everybody else that will fall out. So we can apply that. And you can see they will fall down those various paths there. Now, so here's the exciting bit. Hopefully, we're going to send you all an email. So but in order to do that, we need to put a schedule on this campaign. So I'm going to set a schedule. Now, these schedules could be recurring. So it might be something that you run daily, weekly, monthly. But for the purposes of this, we're just going to run it once. I'm going to run it now, all being well. So we'll apply that and we're going to hit save. And then once the journey has then saved, we'll see that publish button becomes available to me. I can press publish, but before it does that publish, it's going to give me a little bit of a summary of what I'm about to publish. So it tells me some campaign information, tells me about my audience, tells me any sort of items we've got in there. So we're waiting for a day, any emails that we've got in, and the ability to record or not record communication history. So, and obviously you might see something at this point and go, actually, I've missed something. So you can press cancel at that point and then go and make those amends. But for this case, we're going to hit publish. So this will submit that journey now into the system, and the system is constantly polling for journeys, whether it's the start of a journey or different sections of the journey that are due to run, and it's polling for that on a scheduled basis. So hopefully within the timescales that I've got to me here, here we go, it's off and it's running. from our monitoring tab, and we can see here that 74 communications have now been sent. So these have left this journey, they've gone through the Aptico email and hopefully landed in your inbox. Now, hopefully, I'm in the list as well. So if my emails are going to synchronize, we see it has just arrived. There we go. So I can see here, I've now got my email. So it's come to me. So in the subject line, why not go for a cycle, Nick? It's referenced my name in here, and it's thanking me for all the support that I've given. So I've clearly fallen into that bottom category of other. So I've got that bit of text there, and I've been given the 50 off code. Therefore, I'm obviously deemed as I was obviously assigned to a supporter that hadn't taken part in an event before. So I've now received that beautiful email that was designed in Aptico email and delivered straight to my inbox. Now, so that's the end of the demonstration in terms of the journey. We're going to look at web forms next, but before I go into that, I'll pass back to James and he'll tell you a little bit about web forms.
Perfect. Well done, Nick. The high wire act of typing and talking, sending live campaigns, and you saw it land. And indeed, if you registered in time before we put the data this morning, you should have received that email yourself. It will be arbitrary which of the treatments you get. We just linked you up to show the example. Now, that lovely email might have sufficient calls to action to just get people to sign up, to come to somewhere on the website or to call in. But what if you want to give them another way of engaging, or if you need to get a confirmation of their interest? One of the things that you could do is use the Aptico marketing platform web forms. Now, the forms built into the system can be deployed anywhere that you wish and will post data back to Aptico. They're not designed for huge data sets. It's really designed for quite simple data capture forms. For example, a double opt-in consent, or a bit of registration data, or an email address to join your blog, something like that. And those forms are designed inside the Aptico marketing platform. You can see on my screenshots on the slide, the form builder. It's sat alongside the email builder. You've just seen Nick do a wonderful demo of that email builder. You've got an idea of the power. So we have a form builder built in that will allow you to create the forms, and you can see some sample forms in the bottom right hand corner. Each of those has some sort of data capture or confirmation type role, and we do have the two-stage process built in for a double opt-in consent. So that middle example is the page that will be shown when somebody confirms that they wish to opt in. Incidentally, we also have an SMS builder forthcoming. That's not yet in the production version of the Aptico marketing platform. That's something we're working on, but back at base, we've already got the ability to create SMS text blocks with personalization in there, so we can put the name and the ask and the cycle event and the invitation, the shortened URL, all that sort of stuff you can put into an SMS builder. And we've already touched on the fourth button on that panel, the image gallery, which we've not demonstrated today, but is built in for the email editing. So the forms are part of the marketing platform, and they allow you to design different types of data. Here's one that's got a lovely colourful image. That's a real one with data collection alongside, some header and footer text, nicely caveated to describe what the offer is and how you're signing up, for example. And so when you declare a form, you're going to create the fields, you can make them mandatory or not, and we then give you the embed code. And if you've worked on a content management system, whether it's WordPress or Drupal or Adobe or something else, there's very often a mechanism to insert some embed code. And we simply give you that text to copy and paste, put it into your CMS, and then that form will appear as part of your site wherever you wish to host it, and will post data from there whenever somebody completes it and send it back to the Aptico marketing platform. And that data can then be ingested into Aptico or could be used for other purposes that you wish around your enterprise data model. So lots of ways that you can use that quite simple data capture mechanism. So let me hand back over to Nick, and he'll show you an example of how Aptico Forms can help you capture data.
Thanks again, James. So before I head off over to our website, just to show you that these forms have been pre-built. So I've got a capture form that I've built within the form builder, and I've chosen to use a double opt-in email template that will get served to anybody that signs up. And then we've got a confirmation page that the user will then see. So I'm going to head over to our fictitious charities website, Care for Trees. So we've got this website here, and I'm no web designer. I built that form within Aptico Form Builder, and as James said, I then gave that embed code to one of my colleagues who, within a very, very short space of time, popped this up onto our website. So part of that form is a button. So I can click that button, and the style that I've chosen, there are two styles available. So I've chosen a pop-up. So this pops up onto the existing page there. The other option is to have it display a separate page. And we can see here it's saying, find out more. So want to receive the latest information about upcoming events? Yes, please. So we've got some boxes. There's various different types of option things you can add in. So from text boxes to text areas, to radio buttons, to drop downs. And as James said, you can make all of those mandatory, non-mandatory. So I'm going to put in my email address in here, and I'm going to put in my name details. And let's have a look. Okay, we've talked about cycle events. Maybe a skydive might be something that I'd like to do. So yes, I'd like to join the team, please. So it gives me that confirmation that that's sent it into the system, and it's asking me to please check my inbox to confirm my subscription. So all being well, again, with live demonstrations, hopefully, there we go. I've now received an email from Care for Trees events asking me to confirm my subscription. So you can see this again, this email was built within the Aptico email builder. So you can do all the kind of stylings and stuff that you already saw in that previous email. And we've got this option, I want to confirm my subscription. Yes, please. That will call out and come back, and that will deliver that page that you saw in the Aptico form builder. So saying, welcome, you've successfully subscribed to our event information list. So who knows, in the coming time, maybe I'll go for a skydive. Let's see. So that's how we can use web forms very easily to capture that information and feed it into our Aptico system. I'll pass back to James now for a summary and time being allowed, answer some questions.
Thank you very much, Nick. Well done. I think we've shown an end-to-end solution, starting with a dashboard and then getting us through to an automated lookalike model into an automated campaign that's using an email template that will automatically insert the appropriate content and personalization for each individual. So lovely. So a quick summary. We started with dashboards, presenting information to create insight. Those dashboards can be shared with your colleagues, and that sharing is free of charge, and they can interact with the tiles and the tabs in the dashboard to see the interaction between the different tiles and the data types. We used one of those dashboards to create a visual supporter selection to create an audience cohort. That audience cohort was then used as the start point to train a lookalike model. And that lookalike model was used to find new prospects for our cycle event activity. And remember, we excluded anyone who got a negative score, and we excluded anyone who'd already done a cycle event. And so we were targeting supporters that might be interested but haven't yet participated. And we did that targeting using an Aptico campaign. And in this stage, this example, we had just a two-stage campaign. We sent an email, and then we split based on the reaction to that email. We didn't actually define any steps from the second stage because it would be just the same as the first stage. It's easy to do. You just add another email or add a WhatsApp message into that customer journey, that supporter journey. And we learned about using Aptico email to create highly personalized and customized communications. We've delivered that to your inbox, okay, with an arbitrary split, in this case of what treatment you got. And we learned about how to capture double opt-in or further data through Aptico forms, very often linked as the result of an automated email that's sent, and that data automatically comes back to the Aptico marketing platform where you can act on it. So hopefully that's been useful. Well, I'm pleased to say we have some questions that have been put in while we have been speaking. And as Nick's done a lot of the talking already, I'll lead the way, but I'll invite him to chip in. The first question was from Rachel. What are your accessibility tools, as well as checking deliverability, mobile versions and text-only versions? So we've not demonstrated it today, Rachel, but we have test tools built into Aptico email that will do real rendering of the email onto different devices in different configurations on a wide variety of device and operating system platforms. Now, I don't know off the top of my head whether we automatically include, for example, high contrast configurations of those devices. So we'll come back to you after the webinar to see whether you can pick accessibility configurations as well as device and application configurations for that test. But it's done with a real send to a device that is then rendered back to you. I should have mentioned, and we didn't do it just for time today, there is simple preview built in as you create that email. You can look at it on a mobile or tablet or desktop type view, but that's a simplified HTML rendering view only. We'll come back to you on accessibility. Second question is from Shaquille, and that was about the model used to score the supporters. What type of model is it? Well, it's a simplified regression model. It's based on Aptico's predictive weight of evidence technique, but now extended to detect the interactions between the variables. So PWE, predictive weight of evidence, is a univariate technique. By adding the incremental insight aspect, we start to detect the multivariate aspects of that, so we can look at the combination of those variables. And you said, how's a hierarchy of traits determined? So that is the incremental insight. So we will measure which variable gives the highest PWE, predictive weight of evidence score, to start with, and then we consider all the other variables that the user has elected to look alike with and or build the model with, and we'll find which is the most useful, having allowed for the first variable and then the second variable and then the third variable. And that's how we build up that hierarchy. So we're looking at the additional information, the incremental information. And you also asked, is this acquisition applicable to recruit cold supporters, and if so, how? So the modeling technique wouldn't be used directly for cold supporters, in that it's only going to work on the data that you have inside your Aptico marketing platform. And that's the first party supporter data that you've collected, collated, cleaned, managed, registered and consented as appropriate, and removed as appropriate. So it's probably only your newer data. The older supporters have probably gone off the back of your retention policy. And you'll have that in your Aptico platform, and we can model within all of that data using any aspect of it, but that doesn't give us sight of external data. If you want to go get external data for acquisition, you could do that by the technique I mentioned, which is using a custom audience from the Aptico marketing platform uploaded to one of the social platforms. So we could take a custom audience and deliver it to Facebook, for example, and ask Facebook to target adverts to people either in that list, which would be very similar to what we're doing already ourselves, or, and this is an important point, lookalikes to that list. And just to emphasize the practicality of that, we can give a stop list as well as a target list to Meta or Facebook and or Google. And that stop list would ensure that you never pay to serve an ad to a supporter you already know. So we can say to Facebook, please go and find people like this, but never serve an ad to all of these people over here. And with Meta, we can reach the Meta territories, so Facebook and Insta, for example. With Google, we can reach Google's own territories. We don't reach yet into the Google Display Network. And it's one of the things I'm interested to do for Aptico, to see how we can reach into other channels, whether that's connected TV or digital out of home, for example, to look at how we can do more with the fantastic data management we give you around first party data, and then using that for above the line activity on a broad spectrum of channels. And we've had an initial discussion with one of the media connection agencies that puts that sort of data together, in order to see how we can take custom audiences from Aptico and use those to help you reach all of that media space, and actually to interface with media buying agencies, and to help you bring the knowledge from your first party supporter data to support your colleagues who are doing social activity, for example. And then the final one is from Pippa. Are you finding that iPhones are confusing the no opens? Yeah, so this is an industry issue to do with how iPhones and iOS particularly report on opens. And I think we are as good and as bad as the rest of the industry, Pippa. I mean, clearly it's nothing specific to the Aptico platform and the email engine that we use to deliver these. We haven't seen a significant effect yet, but I will caveat that with the fact that we only announced Aptico email in November last year at the Aptico Live conference, and we are deploying it now with the partners and clients who wish to adopt it. And so I don't think we've got enough data yet to say for sure the impact that iOS is having on that data. And indeed, there will be other moves in that whole messaging and delivery channel. So, for example, Apple have now supported the new messaging format, I think it's called RTC, if I remember right, or RTS maybe, and which will allow iPhones to be more collaborative than to date. So you could have messaging that isn't just in iMessage and that's kind of isolated in iOS, but you could have something that's a rich format that's used across everything. And I give Nick a bit of time to rest. Nick, is there anything you want to add to any of those?
No, I think that covers everything. And obviously, if there's any extra questions, we can follow up with individuals after the webinar.
Okay, so thank you particularly to Rachel, Shaquille and Pippa for your questions. I'm James Alty. My co-presenter is Nick Cook. We're from Aptico and Wood for Trees, respectively. If you're interested to follow either of us, you can see the QR codes there for following us on LinkedIn. I've certainly done more work on LinkedIn in the last month than the whole of the rest of my life, because we've launched our wonderful Aptico marketing platform, and part of my role now is to get the word out there about it. But you've also got other connection points with us. You can call us, you can email us, and you can visit the websites. Right, with great compliments to Nick for typing, talking, and running a live campaign for all of you. I know how tricky that is. Nick, well done getting it through. We'll draw a close to the webinar. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us and for your time today. I hope it's been useful. Do ask us if you want any further information, but that's the end of the session today.
Thank you.